Hello, welcome back to the James Ramblin' Reviews for yet another episode. And in today's episode, I didn't expect to review this movie, but this is the follow up to that whole big Breaking Bad deep dive that we did. And we're going to be talking about Extraction 2. Before we get into that, I'm just going to give you a bit of context as to how I felt about Extraction, the first movie. So it's this simple story where we have Chris Hemsworth, we have Sam Hargrave, the director, and the Russo Brothers coming together, making an action flick for Netflix. So then he has to save this boy from Mumbai. There's this drug kingpin involved. It's an action flick. Okay, so that's my thoughts, and it's like a 7 out of 10 at best for me. So once you get into Extraction 2, this is the follow up where we're still following the story of Chris Hemsworth's character. It picks up right after the first movie, so you get that. But we're taking things away from Mumbai and India, and we're going into this country called Georgia. There's this family, and Chris Hemsworth's character has to save this family in this prison. So you get all of that. So there's definitely that, right? But I'll talk about what works about the movie and maybe some flaws because it's not a masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination. So the good thing about Extraction 2 is how the action plays out and how the action is done. Like for example, there's this 21-minute long one shot action sequence where the camera stays still for 21 minutes as Chris Hemsworth's character is trying to help these people out of this prison and all this action is happening. Also, there's also a point where Chris Hemsworth is on fire and he's fighting these people, and there's constant combat and fighting, and just the ways they use practical effects to emphasize exactly how they're gonna implement this fighting and all of that, and the action is great. Like for example, we also had that movie John Wick where we had like katanas, we had fighting on the street while cars are driving by. So we're starting to see this new wave of action movies where we're taking all these different kind of environments to where we're going to be fighting in different places. So that's what's very, very good about it. And also the whole thing with the villain and stuff like that is very kind of interesting. It's like the Georgian mafia, and they're called the Nagazis or whatever, and there's all of this stuff. But the thing is with this movie is the fact that there are bits in time when it kind of drags on. Like the villain that Chris Hemsworth's character fights goes on and on and on and on, and the cat and the family dynamic stuff with the boy and the mother isn't as interesting as the first movie. Like they just kind of go here and there and that and this. It doesn't feel like because the Mumbai stuff was like okay, we developed this connection with this boy. He saved this boy. It's very intimate. But because we've got the Georgian mafia and we've got all this stuff going on, there's quite a few things going on. So trying to maintain focus on that is just a bit hard when you've got all this other stuff happening. Also, Idris Elba is in this movie. He's more of a cameo in this movie than you'd think. So maybe this will hint towards the Idris Elba coming into the movie, the next movie, because it seems like they are setting up a third film in this franchise, and I would like to see that. Another point to add about this movie is the fact that I personally think this movie could have worked 10 times better in the cinema because it's so cinematic and stuff like that. But once you consider that Netflix is doing a deal with Chris Hemsworth and the director and the Russo brothers, you start to see that okay, they want to bank off of this, and so that's my overall thoughts with the film. I thought I'd give it like an 8 or 7 out of 10. It ups the action from the first movie because you had that 21-minute long action sequence that I mentioned earlier, where you had all of that combat, but it was just one still camera. The movie obviously also has subtitles for the Georgian speaking and stuff like that, so there's a lot of things that go on, but it is not trying to be more than it actually is. You signed up for a simple, fun rescue mission with hundred and tons of action, with Chris Hemsworth at the forefront, and that's what you're gonna get. And so, I hope that there's a third movie in this franchise because it's really good. So I have been raving and raving and raving on about this. This is not going to be as long as the Breaking Bad review, but this is a movie that I do highly recommend. If you have Netflix, if you have some free time, if you don't want to go out in the movies and watch 2.5 hour Indiana Jones 5, 2.5 hour The Flash and stuff like that. Highly recommend this movie. So I've sang its praises enough, and I will. Maybe we might review Extraction 3. So look out for that. Look out for the new episode of the James Ramblin' Show, which will be coming out in a few days from now, a couple of days from now as I'm recording this. So yeah, see you for another review, maybe another review where we talk about Mission Impossible. So yeah, bye. Chris Hemsworth live action franchise. Here we go.